Morning, everybody. 8:10 a.m. Welcome to my channel, Confluence Trading. This market is doing what it's supposed to do right now. All right, no surprises yesterday. We basically will go over it in a second of the reason the market's doing what it's doing. Because what happened was we closed semi near the lows on Friday, right? And then basically made a higher low. And anybody who was short on Friday basically had the cover. That's basically what happened yesterday. All right, and then we hit a key resistance area, and the market had to pull back. Very simple. Now we have a lot of things going on in the markets right now. All right, we have quad witching this Friday. Okay, so futures contracts are rolling over. Right, futures contracts. Then you have futures options expiring. Then you have index options and stock options. So that's why they call it quad witching. So I rolled over yesterday into the next contract. So that is happening on my end. I had to do all my levels again, and that's why the futures is a little squirrely because of this. All right, that's why the futures are a little squirrely. You have volumes in two different contracts, which makes it a little weird. Okay, so that's what's been going on. All right, without further ado, let's get into it. Welcome to my channel. My name is Steven Gonzalez. I use market profile and volume profile to find structure in the markets, along with supply and demand, gamma exposure level, the most traded price of the year, the month, the week, and the previous day. That is my edge. All right. That's when I come up with plans. I use each of those things to guide me. All right. Along with anchored VWAPs. All right. Along with anchored VWAPs and market internals to see what's under the hood. To see what's under the hood. Okay. So hopefully you guys join me every day. Have a cup of coffee, water, whatever it is. Put me on for the first 20 so minutes. I talk about the markets, what's going on, why we're moving, what's going on, the story, right? Go over the calendar, news, whatever. All right, then follows daily charts and a lot of TA. Then we get advanced, then we do long and short trade scenarios with the Nasdaq and ES futures. All right, then once the market opens up, I look at my internals, and if you want to see my commentary or hear me live, you can go to Confluence Trading, go to my YouTube homepage, join the link. All right, I'll probably go live again today, and join me. All right. Now, I'd like to get right into futures watch list here and see what's moving markets. All right. So we got a VIX. We're over a 20 again, up 5.13%. Crude jumped right back up 2.31%. So crude's wild. Deal with the tensions in Iran. Silver's up 1.68. I'm loving that. 30-year bonds being bought will send yields lower. Dollar's up slightly. So ES down 0.36, Nasdaq down 0.38, gold down 0.40, Dow down 0.40, Russell down 0.56, 10-year yield almost down a percent. Bitcoin's down 2.70, Ethereum down 3.88. All right, moving on. Now we have our Mag 7 Plus and AMD. All right, it's finally making a move. Loving it. Loving it because I added a lot of shares, did a lot of DCA as AMD was falling. As AMD was falling. Okay. So I'm loving this price action with AMD. They're finally getting some steam, and they did come up with a new chip, I believe, that rivals Nvidia. So love that CEO. So Nvidia's up 0.16. Now you got a bunch of laggards, right? So we'll go down to the bottom here. Tesla's down 0.60, GE down 0.66, Amazon down 0.67, Microsoft down 0.76, and Coinbase, the Bitcoin proxy basically, is down 1.83. No surprise there. All right, no surprise there. So let's move on. Sectors. All right. Who's leading the pack? Well, we already said crude. Now, crude doesn't always go lockstep with energy ETF, right? Because you get bigger moves with crude, right, than you will the energy sector. However, it's up 0.80. All right. Now, who's the bottom here? Healthcare down 0.23. Technology down 0.24. Communications down 0.35. Discretionary down 0.36. And financials is the laggard today. Financials. Now, the largest holding in the financials is Berkshire Hathaway. They're just flat. I'm trying to see what other financial is down here. Goldman Sachs is down. I mean, nothing crazy, but it's down. All right, you can't dispute that. All right, we're gonna move on to just a little market internals recap. Yesterday was a very odd tempo. Like I said, it's quad witching this Friday, so let's look at the market internals. We'll just do a quick recap here. So pretty strong all day. Divergence here. Market cap was stronger than equal weight. Okay, that's because technology, financials, consumer discretionary were strong all day. But we hit these key resistance levels, and I actually had a decent short yesterday. All right, I had a decent short. Basically, on this push up, I shorted in here and rode that down. Okay, I got stopped on my trail stop, but I took some off on this initial move right there. I think I got my stop hit here or something. So decent trade. You got to take what you can in this market because if we're just in balance, we're chopping. Okay. So that's the market internals thing. You just see they were strong and a big divergence. I mean, big divergence. Look how weak the equal weight was compared to market cap stayed above the water. Okay. So that's a big divergence. That just means the overall market was weak. But market cap is what moves our market. So that's why I look market internals. Okay. All right, let's go over to news. Economic calendar. All right, let's move on here. Now today we have some news, but like they usually don't move the markets that much. Retail sales, export, import prices. All right, 9:15 and this 10 a.m. You got two things coming up: business inventories and NHAB housing market index. I've never really seen them move markets that much. I mean, I do have an alarm set just to make sure I'm aware. Okay, just make sure I'm aware. Now tomorrow's FOMC. Tomorrow's FOMC. All right, get into some news here. So let's just go down some of these. OpenAI executives weigh antitrust accusation against Microsoft. Golden share in U.S. deal could scare off foreign investors in U.S. deals. Apple must face consumer lawsuit over iCloud storage. Nvidia to attend China supply chain expo in July for the first time. And solar stocks drop after Senate proposal to phase out tax credits. So if you look at some solar stocks, they're probably beaten down. Okay, so we'll start here. We'll just read this whole thing. U.S. stock index futures slipped as escalating tensions in the Middle East enter the fifth day, weighing on global investor sentiment ahead of the Federal Reserve's upcoming policy decision. While the Fed is widely expected to hold interest rates steady, market participants will closely scrutinize Chair Jerome Powell's remarks and updated economic and policy projections for signals on the timing and likelihood of rate cuts later this year. European equities declined sharply, reflecting heightened geopolitical concerns. In Asia, Chinese equities closed in the red, while Japan's Nikkei ended higher, lifted by gains in the financial stocks following the Bank of Japan's policy announcement. The dollar held firm, while the yen posted modest gains. In commodities, oil prices climbed amid persistent geopolitical uncertainty in the Middle East, while analysts suggesting elevated price levels could persist. Spot gold advanced. Okay. Eli Lilly had quite the sell-off yesterday. Let me see. Drug makers in advanced talks to acquire gene editing startup Verve Therapeutics. Okay. Let's see here. All right, let's just see. Google here. Jeffrey raises target price to 210 from 200. Amazon, Jeffrey raises target price 250 from 240. Meta, Jeffrey raises target price 790 from 700. Interesting. The juice doesn't really have much. I mean, just Trump. Pharma tariffs are coming soon. Trump not too much in the mood to negotiate with Iran. That's really what's going on there. All right, I think we can move on to our daily charts. Like I said, we're in balance. There's like nothing to see here, really. Okay, don't get fooled by price action because you need to look at structure, right? That's what grounds me. All right, we'll look at structure. And it's very simple when you break down like a daily chart, right? And you just really see what is going on and the psychology involved. Okay, let me get my marker out. I'm just going to show you when I was live yesterday. One of my friends that's usually in there with me, I was just explaining to him that let's look at the psychology, right? And this, you have to think about this when you're trading. Okay, so I told him, look what happened on Friday, right? I said we opened here, right? And then we pushed up, came back down, and closed here. I know we pushed up, and then really what we did is we closed here, right? So let's just say you got long here on the tail. People got long here, and you closed here. You're pretty happy. Now the market overnight activity price starts here. So think if you got short here, you're pretty happy on Friday, right? So we'll just say this. These are shorts who got paid, right? Into Friday's close. They're like, oh, this is great. I'm short from the highs. And longs could be kind of happy if they bought this long right off the previous monthly highs. Now the market opens up here. What do you think these shorts are feeling? Not good. Okay, so if we clean this up and just picture shorts here, picture longs here. Okay, market opens here. These longs are feeling great. These shorts are not. Now we get an open drive higher, right? Open drive higher. Let's just change this to pink. Open drive higher, right? Puts these shorts underwater. And then what happens is you continue. And that's short covering. All right? That is short covering. And then eventually, look what happens. You come over to these daily candles. And if I am long from here and I get up into this area, here's last week's highs, I am probably going to start to take profits because you started to stall, and then what happened? We closed here. So that's just how the market works. Okay, hope that illustration helps because you really got to put in yourself in the mind if you were short here. What would you want to do if you saw this? You probably want to, cover. Okay, especially with that drive up yesterday. Okay, now as far as what happened yesterday, all right, we had to drive higher and then we couldn't go any farther, which made sense. Okay, and where are we now? 650. Let's call it 650. We are right here. So we are at like near the open of yesterday, right here. Okay, and you're at a horrible place. To be honest with you, we're right in the middle of balance. Okay, look, this is our balance area right now. Price is right here. Horrible. Okay, horrible. You're in balance. And guess what we have coming? FOMC tomorrow. Okay, so I don't expect anything crazy. I don't expect. And then after FOMC, the market's closed on Thursday. So, and when this is quad witching, very odd week. Very odd week. Let's look at futures. Now, I'm going to give you the new futures contract. Okay, because I had to update it. So, here we go. New levels. New levels. Look at this mess. Balance, folks. And look where we are right now. Almost in the middle of yesterday. It's just, we're balancing. There's nothing to be like, oh my God, we're weak. Oh my God, we're strong. Nope, nope, nope. Okay? Moving on. Let's look at the Qs. Okay, what did the Qs do? Now the Qs had a nice move yesterday. They was pretty strong in tech. Okay, same thing goes here. That was the relatively stronger index. That was relatively stronger. All right, let me throw up a 30-minute profile for you. Okay, and just as we look at this together, just to show you, here's the Nasdaq. Nice drive up, and then you just held. Right, that's the relative strength. Look at that structure compared to the SPY or the ES. Drove up and trended lower. Okay, trended lower. So I was short. I was short up in here. Okay, and I shorted the SPY because it was relatively weaker. I did not want to short the QQQ. Okay, and remember what I told you. Remember what I told you about the internals, right? So the internals visualize this for me right here. Remember I told you, look at the equal weight trending lower, but the market cap is moving, was not weak. Why is that? Well, I just showed you the Qs, right? And 31.6% of the market cap weight in the S&P 500 is tech. Okay? That's why this graph is everything, right? It tells you everything. And that's why I was shorting SPY. Okay? Not a monster trade, a good one, not a monster. Over 1 point something R, which is nothing to be like going crazy about. Okay, nothing to go crazy about. And we just go right back here to daily. All right, we'll look at the new NASDAQ futures contracts here. Let's look at those. You're going to see we're in the middle of garbage. I mean, look at this. We haven't gone anywhere. And then you just got more volatility, but still haven't gone anywhere. Okay. And then that brings us to our lovely bond market. All right. Let's look at that triple-headed monster here. And you can see we're just almost looking like a descending triangle, which is a bearish pattern. But I don't know. We're just moving sideways, even though yields are lower today. You can see this black candle here engulfing the other candle. Well, not really engulfing, but taking it out. Well, I don't really trust anything. There's FOMC tomorrow. Okay. Let's look at that dollar. The dollar is bottoming out, still in my opinion. Okay. Just failing down here. I think we're going to get a rally one, but I don't know, right? I don't know. Look at the VIX. That's our fear. 30 days out. 30 days out. You can know the VIX is elevated now. The VIX is elevated with these geopolitical tensions. All right. Now we'll get into. There's not much analysis here for these hourly charts, but we have to show them. And my new levels. I rolled over to the new contract. So, and there are some new levels we could talk about in the 1 hour charts. All right, let's go to the 1 hour chart. We'll use my trusty marker here. And there's a big level we got to talk about now that just changed. The most traded price of this year is 60.64, call it 60.65. You can see it's right here. So this price is the most traded price now. You can see 60.64 rounded to 60.65 is the most traded price of this year. So it becomes a very pivotal level. Okay? And you can see price is revolving around it. Right? So we're in the middle of the muddle. That's what I mean when I have these levels, right? And I go, wow, we're just chilling right at the most traded price of the year. That just shows me indecision. That just shows me a horrible trade location. And we're going to go like this today, either here or here. You have to move away from it. It's going to happen. It's a matter of when. Okay? It's a matter of when. And the only thing that I have here is an anchor view up from this. So I got this in the mix. This is the anchor view up from the US-China trade pause. Okay? Then we got our month-to-date anchor VWAP. That's June, and you can see it's flat. So it all tells you that I said we're in balance, right? Until FOMC. All right, until FOMC. Moving on. Like I said, there's not much to glean here. Look at our NASDAQ now. Now, NASDAQ does have some important levels as well that I want to update here. Let's talk about it, right? So, you notice whenever you guys see this turquoise box, the white border, that is the most traded price of the month. Okay, that is the most traded price of the month. That's where we are right now, 220.70, let's call it. So that's your most traded price of the month. Remember, ES's price is the most traded price of the year. That's moved, right? So now I know we're at the horrible trade location. Now, whenever the most traded price of the week, which just happens to be like 22156 around this one, whenever I have them on my charts like this, I know we're basically in ultimate balance. Ultimate balance, okay? So now I know this is the most traded price of the month. This is the most traded price of the week. If they, a lot of times they can overlap, but when they're close together, that just tells me a big move's gonna happen. A big move's gonna happen. Okay, because we keep going. We keep going from down here to the most traded price of the week. You rip down. Don't spend much time down there. Come right back to the most traded price of the month. Then the most traded price of the week. Then the most traded price of the month, and I can see us ping-ponging until we get some type of catalyst, which could be FOMC. Now, I do have an anchor VWAP from this just to show me sellers are here. Okay, sellers are there. Okay, so in the big scheme of things, all right, when you're in ultimate balance, all right, like I said, the market bases in trends, okay, and you could even see here. This is the profile. The green is for this year. The white is from the rolling year. Okay. Just what I just showed you, right? All I have to do is circle this. So you could just see the concentration up there, right? You can see in the Nasdaq, this is the most traded price of the year, this year, and the rolling year. So you can see how much trades happen there. And look what we did. You move from node to node, right? High volume node. We eventually sorted this out and moved to another one. That's how the market works, okay? And then we'll trend. All right, so in this market, what am I basically saying, right? What am I basically trying to show you guys is in this market, okay? This is a high volume node now, or it's, most traded price of the week, ultimate balance. We're only going to do two things. Price is going to start to go like this, and we're going to go right back to the most traded price of the year in the rolling year, or we're going to break out of this and move to another area. That's what we're waiting for, right? And this is why I said this gives me structure when I open my channel and say welcome to my channel. I use market profile, volume profile. This is the structure I use whenever I see this. Oh, most traded price of the month. Ooh, most traded price of the week. Now I have a different, that makes me look at the market in a certain structure. Oh, because I wouldn't know that unless I had the volume profile on. I wouldn't know it. Okay. So that's your hourly chart analysis. All right. Now we can move on. I'm just going to change my workspace over to the NinjaTrader to our market profile, volume profile, more in the minutia, the more granular analysis. Okay. And again, I've updated my charts to make them more easily readable. So let's move on to here, and this will be your market profile and volume profile analysis. Okay, so let's see what we got here. Now, right off the bat, you got excess here is your profile for the week. You got value area is up here, right? And you have, so this is rolling. So what this looks like to me, if I had to get probability here, the market wants higher prices. Value is being accepted up here in the last week, and a completed auction would look something like this. So right now the market's telling me it might want to go higher. That doesn't mean it has to happen, right? All right, so that's what the profile looks, because value is to the upside. Okay, the majority, the 70% of the trade is happening in this area. Not much time is being sent here, and you can see this shows you people's behaviors. Not many people are trading down here, okay? All right, let's look at yesterday's price action, which was not the best to watch. Okay. All right, so we opened here, literally drove, broke this confluence high that I talked about, okay, and drove up. Where do we drive? Next level, 6103. That's been resistant, right? It was a supply zone, and it happened to be the most traded price of the week. And I had to look at this and say, okay, we just came, right, from here. Then, I'm sorry, we just came from here. That news came out, and then the next session happened, right? Friday. The market closed here, right? So people were like reshorted it in, right? And then the market opened, right? It opened down here. And remember what I said, 100%, almost 100% net long, right? Closed here the overnight session. And I said, how would you feel if you were short here? That's why we drove. Where did we go though? Back to the other side of resistance, right? And this market could not go higher. And I had to say, okay, what's the likelihood that we can push higher? Not likely. Internals were telling me it wasn't strong enough. Okay. So that's what we're looking at, was yesterday. All right. So let's look at some levels. All right. Have a pretty good demand zone here that's been holding the market. We have a flattened out month-to-date anchor view up right here, 60.48. Okay. We are gapping slightly lower prices right here. Like I said, it's at the most traded price of this year, 60.65. So we're right in the middle of nowhere. Not the best place to be. Okay, really not. Okay, now we do have a feather in the cap for longs, a little bit. Pretty much 100% net short. Here's your opening, and we drove down to here, right? But now we're in pretty much close to the middle. So if we were down here, remember yesterday, I was like, ooh, I like this 100% net long, right? But then, you have to see where you're on structure, like I pointed out before. All right, price was down. If the price was down here now, I'd be liking longs a lot better. But look, we're hanging out at the most traded price of the overnight, which happens to be 60.65, which is the most traded price of the year. So super balanced, right in the middle of indecision. And these levels act as, and it looks like the most traded price of the month for the 24-hour session has moved right here as well. So we could be in ultimate balance in the ES probably today. All right. And that's just ultimate balance. That just means that price is coiling. All right. And it's going to expand. It's going to expand. So we have a big level here. This 6109, what encompasses yesterday's highs, overnight highs, yesterday's settlement. Right here. That's a very key level. That's big time resistance there. Okay, big time resistance. So we have to see. Now, you put the high in. Now you have your overnight high. So you have a lower high, and we're here in the middle, right? So the market can, if it can't get its legs, it's going to find itself down here again. Okay. And you can see here we have a poor low in the overnight. So we'll expand this. That just means a double bottom right there. All right, double bottom right here. So the 60, 45, 25. All right. So we have demand zone here. Month to date VWAPs right there. So I'm going to mark this off. Right. So from 60.35 right here, that poor low is susceptible to get broken. Susceptible to get broken. Okay. Next level. You got demand. You got double demand here, kind of. Right in here. Okay. And then finally, we have our most traded price of the month. I believe this is 59.71. That's probably going to move up here. Okay. But those are our levels. Okay. And we're going to get right into scenarios. Let's do it. We will start today with the bearish side. All right. Now, why would I say that? Because we just came from down here all the way up here, failed, ripped down again. Okay. So if you were long down here, you're not sweating that much. Okay. However, if price, you can see this is a supply zone here, cannot break this resistance, and there's some supply here, and you go back through the most traded price of the year and the most traded price of the overnight, you're going to take out that 60.45 poor low. And what's going to happen is it's going to tip the scales back in the seller's favor, because longs from here, if they didn't take profits here, right, they're going to take profits. All right. And you're probably going to just move yourself down to the overnight lows right here of the previous day. And if that can't hold you, you're going back here to the bottom of this, basically this big balance area, 59.71. 59.71. Okay. Now, price is right here. So if we were to rotate and go push up in the air into this resistance again, we have FOMC tomorrow and it can't break it. Obviously, we can come back to the mean. It's pretty much all I'm interested in there as far as a short. Okay. Long side. Okay. Now, I don't like where we're at here. Right in the middle of the muddle. That is not my strong suit. It's a gamble. It's a toss-up. It's a coin flip. You're in the middle of the most traded price of this year. All right. A lot of traffic. I don't like that traffic. So remember, like I said, we're going to have an inside-out move. Inside-out move. Okay. So there's a big demand zone here. You got a poor low here. So honestly, you can, a couple things here. We could get defense right here, get a little bear trap, push back, come across here, hold, and go try to go back to this balance. I'm still not in love with that. I'm really not, being honest with you. More what I would like to see is we actually do get weakness, but quickly. And somewhere in this, we can get a bounce. Okay? Somewhere down here, but I'd like it quickly. We can get a bounce. Anticipating FOMC. Okay? Anticipating FOMC. If we do get some type of move lower today, I believe we will de-risk for FOMC tomorrow. And it happens a lot. And it happens where I'll be like, oh, I don't see a big move happening today because FOMC's tomorrow. And what will happen is you'll get a big move, but then later in the day, all of a sudden, people are like, I'm not holding that. I'm not holding that position. And then, boom, you go right back to the mean. Okay, so that's kind of what I'm looking at today. Like I said, I'm kind of sitting back and really picking my spots. Yesterday I took that one short. That was it. That's all I took. Okay? Just because we have uncertainty and we're at the most traded price of the year. Okay? In the middle of the muddle, not a good area to be in. Okay? And the basics of what I'm saying here, and you always got to think of the markets a story and psychology. Okay? Just think, I got long here. I love this move up. If I'm long, I probably took profits. Okay? If I'm short here, I'm loving this price action because now we just moved to here, right? If I'm still long here and I break this, I'm probably going to be like, all right, my long's done. I'm going to take profits, my stop gets hit, and we're going to go back. And then guess what? The story repeats because now if I'm short from here and we go to this key level, I'm going to say, let me take profits, and then new longs can step in to de-risk. That's psychologically and emotionally what most likely happens. Okay? So you always got to keep that in mind. It's very important to think about how would I feel if I was long or short from here? How would I feel? Okay? It's very important to have those in your mind because like it helps me when I'm trading to think like that. You can't just think in the minutia of a 5-minute candle. What's the story? Right? There's always a story. There's always a story. Okay? Now, here's the NASDAQ. Let's look at the profile together as I try to pick a color here. All right. So we have our profile, and now this is like value area, right? Value area, and then we have some less participation. Again, it's skewed more to the bullish side. Okay, values up in the profile. It's not in the middle. It's up. That can change. That can change. Now, we are in ultimate balance. Look where we are. Most traded price of the month, and that's where we are. That is indecision, right? And what did I say? Whenever you're in an area like this, you can see the amount of volume here. We're going to move away from there. It's guaranteed. So today we're going to test somewhere here or somewhere here. It will happen. I don't like that trade because I don't know how to pick who's strong or weak from in the middle of here. It's a coin flip. You get chopped to death. You get chopped to death. Now we do have some nice levels here. We do. So 22224. We have supply zone right here. That encompasses our most traded price of the week and our overnight high at let's just call it 22177. Okay. Now we do have our most traded price of the month, but this is the more important level here. Okay. We're gonna open this up, give you guys a better view. Okay. Okay, and you can see very clearly, right? I don't need to see these bars, but it gives a nice visual. Yesterday's lows are lining up with the overnight lows. Your overnight lows, 219.95. That is a confluence low. Okay? Got a demand zone here. You got month-to-date VWAP right here, 219.69. Big demand zone, right? Okay. Now, next, we have our what do we call it? 21722 to 21650. This is your most traded price of this year. 21650. Okay, notice there's a little bit of a vacuum here. Okay. There's a little void here. Okay, let's just say this. I don't know if I want to put, oh boy, I don't want to do that. Okay, right in this area. We'll just do this, right? And you don't know why I'm saying that. Okay, you'll know why I'm saying that. All right, let's get right into scenarios, and we're going to start with the short side. Just because proper structure and the way the market's moving, I would think possibly we just complete the structure, right? And let's check it out. Price is right here, worst place possible. We have a supply zone up here. So what I would like to see, push up into this supply, into the most traded price of the week. If you get failure and you get some lower highs, where are you going to go? Confluence low right there. Remember that? 21995. And you have a demand, you have monthly view. This will not be easy, but I think if you start going across here into the void and you break this 21892, okay, you break the 21982, guess what's going to happen? The longs from here, the last ones that are there, are going to have to liquidate. And you get into that void, and I feel like we're going to come down and basically go down to the most traded price of the year, 21650. And then here you probably bounce a little bit. Okay? It's honestly what I'd be looking for. Obviously, you could also push down, break that level, hold, and try to go lower as well. That's the shorts that I'm interested in. Now, again, the market needs to do some stuff. All right? Long side. Let's look at that together. Okay. So, there's demand zone here. Okay? Now, like I said, I really have to see how internals are, but like we're in the middle of the muddle here. And, if generally you push up, fail, start to move back lower, you go back down, right? So I really have to see strength in the market in internals. Okay, but what can we do? Push down here, break, and this could be a bear trap. Okay, you break that 21995. Okay, you hit month to date VWAP, and you really quickly recover. And if the market is strong enough, you're going to have to break through that big month to date most traded price of the month. That's 22061. And see if you can come back up and test this thing. Like I said, I probably don't. I have to see internals. They have to be strong for me in order to have confidence in that long. I'm not super confident in it. Okay. A little more confident would be a quick move into this area and then a bounce, de-risking back to the mean. Just because FOMC is coming, people don't want to hold bags. Okay. But really have to see. I'm being honest, I'm on the side of more shorting, but my mind can change easily. Okay. So that is it, folks. Hopefully you enjoyed that analysis. Okay. If you did, please smash the like button for me. That would mean a lot to me. All right. And as always, hopefully you could join me every morning. I give you the story of the markets. All right. Have a cup of coffee, water, tea, whatever your beverage of choice. Put me on in your car, and I tell you exactly what's going on. Even if you have a 401k or whatever, you'll know the story of the markets from me. Okay? And if you want more story, right? Live story, you will join my Discord. That is Confluence Trading. Go to my YouTube homepage, click on the link, and join up. I should go live today, and you'll hear my live commentary. And I write it out as well. Right? And then my trades. But honestly, I'm not looking for anybody to follow my trade. I'm looking to show people that there's a reason the market does what it does, and I break it down. That's how my brain thinks. There's always a reason, and then I have the answer. Okay? Remember, I can't predict news, but I know what the market's doing and why it's doing it. And sometimes it's always my edge, either to trade it or not. Okay? Either to trade it or not. All right? So everybody have a great day. I will see everybody tomorrow morning on FOMC. Okay? Or if you would like, check me out on my Discord, Confluence Trading, and hope to see you in there. And remember, ask questions. Ask questions. All right? All right, everybody.